Go to YouTube. Go to. Are you on YouTube?
What should I say?
When you go to YouTube, come here. We are live. 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 Your channel. You see, we are live. Yeah. What do you see? You see this? I'm coming. Don't give me volume. I don't want to hear myself. When I hear myself, to give feedback.
Okay.
See, the microphone will take it again. So you can put earpiece. If you realize any problem in the audio, let me know.
Okay. Maybe I should get some.
Let's see what. Get out. Get out. Get out. It's true. Birthday gift. Why? Birthday gift. You been a my why? Go fast is in trouble. Do you hear? Hello, 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 hello. Do you hear? Do you hear? Is someone there?
Nobody's here.
These are the people.
Okay.
No, you don't. You can't. Just you can only see the number. So if they reach, when you're about like 8, we'll start. But let me know if what I'm saying you can hear.
Yeah, I can hear myself.
You can hear yourself. You can hear yourself.
I can hear what you're saying.
This one you can hear.
What you said before, like the number, I'm now hearing it.
Wow.
And let me know what.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Creative Design Experience, uh, brought to you by the Chisa KNUST in collaboration with the Learners Club and the GAD Academy. So welcome to the Creative Design Experience, brought to you by Chisa from the KNUST. Brought to you by Chisa from the KNUST in collaboration with Learners Club and GAD Academy. In today's session, we'll be doing a short recap on what we did last week and also help you go through how to install your Adobe Photoshop and the Illustrator. Because during the week, some of you reached out to me and were asking for how to do it, and it seems you're having problems with them. So we'll be going through that. The video on how to install it couldn't come out this week because we're having some problems with YouTube. So we'll be going through them today. So I would like you to stay connected. My name is Yewa Godwin. I'm your tutor for today from Learners Club. And like I said, we'll be continuing the what we were doing last week. But for the meantime, if you have joined, I would like you to leave your name and where you are watching us from in the comments or in the chats. Your name and where you are watching us from in the chats. We'll be glad to know you. Wherever you are, I would like you to join in and leave your name and then where you are watching us from in the chats. We would love to know you. Last week got a lot of people. We got we got Padio from France. Padio from France. I don't know whether he came to deceive us. We also had who was it? Felix and Co.
George from UK.
Oh, okay. So this week we are having we have Joseph from Kumasi. Joseph, welcome. Welcome to the design experience. George Brain. George, what? Oh, okay. Ramatu from Canada. And who else? Let me see. Amwa Ebenezer from Takurade. Emmanuel Apia from La Paz. You're all welcome to the Creative Design Experience. You're all welcome to the Creative Design Experience. At this point, you are waiting for a few of your friends to join in so that we can continue. Safo, welcome. Safo from Feyase. I don't know what I'm pronouncing this right. Safo from Feyase. Evans from Cove Town. Been a long time I've been there. It's been like 2 years to 3 years or so. I've been to Cove Town. They are all welcome. Welcome, Evans. We are 60 now. Last person, last person, last person, last person, last person, last person. Who is typing? I'm still waiting for you to drop in. Who is that? Who is that? Who is that? Who is that? Where? Type your name and where you are watching us from. We would like to know you. We would like to know you. So, like I was saying, this is the Creative Design Experience hosted, uh, brought to you by the Cheeser from KNUST in collaboration with Learners Club and Guard Academy. And today's session will be doing a recap on what we did last week and take you through how to install your Photoshop and Illustrator. Yeah, so we'll be taking more questions. We'll be taking more questions today too. And the last person is here. So we have Crosby from Sunyane. Crosby, welcome. It seems Crosby, I saw you last week. You are welcome. Welcome once again. I saw Safo. I saw Evans. I saw Ramatu. I saw George last week. I saw Joseph last week. You are all welcome. Jerry from Kumasi. Jerry from Kumasi. Oh, Jerry Kumasi. Wow. You are welcome. Seems last week you joined. I don't know. Your profile looks like Harvard University badge. Are you in? Do you have a dream of going to Harvard University? It's really nice. Really nice having you. Welcome, Jerry. Welcome, Jerry. Welcome, Jerry. Welcome everyone to the Creative Design Experience. Like I was saying, today we're doing recap on what we did last week. Since most of you didn't join, so we'd like to go over again. Introduction to graphic design. Introduction to graphic design. So we were saying last week we learned that graphic design is the art of visual communication. How we are able to put our message on a design. We are able to combine art and our message to make it clear for design viewers or readers to understand. I can see Kwesi from chemical. Kwesi from chemical what? Chemical what? Chemical engineering. From the chemical engineering department. Oh, okay. Well, welcome, Kwesi. You're welcome, Kwesi. Jerry, you can't say you don't what? You don't. Okay. You are going to Harvard. I get it. So welcome. Sure. Kwesi, you are welcome. So let's continue. Graphic design is the art of visual communication. The art of visual communication. How we are able to combine art and communicate a message to our viewers or readers. So in this presentation, we'll be exploring the design elements and then principles in graphic designing. The design elements and principles in graphic designing. So when we talk about design elements, we are talking about the basic building blocks of any piece of art and can be thought of as the ingredients used in your visual presentation. So when you are designing, so think of it as you are cooking. Whenever you are designing, think of it as you are cooking. So what you are using, the ingredients you are using, we call it elements of design or design elements. So whether it is well done or not, all pieces of visual art will contain most, if not all, of these elements of design. Some sources may differ, some websites you might visit or books, they might differ on their exact list of elements and definitions, but this we are doing today is going to help you get started in the graphic design industry. Okay, Theophilus, for watching from Half Asini. Theophilus, welcome. Last week I saw you here. Welcome. Very glad you joined today too. I'm very glad you joined today too. Theophilus, welcome. So we're discussing. So what are some of these ingredients we use in designing? Whenever you pick someone's design, what are some of the elements you can see? What are some of the ingredients you can see? And we learned number one is line. So when we describe line as a continuous mark which is made on a surface or the edge created when 2 points meet. So when I create a dot there, and I join them, that line joining them or that continuous mark joining them is called a line. And we talked about a shape. So shape refers to a two-dimensional element with area on a plane. Just two-dimensional element with area on a plane. And I think we all did shape in P6. We also did shape. We did something about shapes in P6. We did something about shapes in Form 1. Even SHS, we also did something about shapes, right? So I know we all know something about shapes. So we have square, we have circle, right angle, triangle. Yeah. We have parallelogram, we have trapezium, and co. And we also have forms. So there we have shape and we have form. They are not the same thing. When normally when you are speaking, we like to uh, we like to use them interchange their stand. No, shape is different from form. So when you are talking about something's form, the form of something, you are talking about a 3D element with volume in space. So when you say form, the form is what 3D, but the shape is what 2D. So the shape is flat, but the form is 3D. You can see more than one face of it. So like we're having on our far right, we have a cube, a 3D cube over there. Okay, welcome, Esther Agbomaji, watching from Kaswa. Esther, forgive me if I didn't mention it well. So welcome. I'm very glad you joined today. Welcome, Esther. So let's continue. Uh, and we talked about color, and we're discussing. I explained that color is the visible spectrum of radiation reflected from an object. You know, what makes it visible for us to see is light. You know, so and what makes it visible for us to differentiate everything from each other is what is this colors is the visible spectrum that when you light falls on the surface of that object, that spectrum that it comes out of it, that thing is what we call what color. So color is also sometimes referred to as what hue. So in design you'll be hearing more of hue, you'll be hearing more of hue. We are just talking about what color. At this point, if you don't understand anything, please do not keep it to yourself. Leave your questions in the chat and I will attend to you very soon. I'll be very glad. Today we are taking so much questions. Everybody, I would like you to try your best. Make sure you ask questions. Feel free. Nobody is going to charge you money for asking questions. Nobody is going to arrest you for asking questions. Ask anything that comes into your mind. Ask anything, so long as it's concerns with this. So our next one is value. Now value, it refers to how light or dark an object, area or element is, independent of its color. So how light it is, how very dark it is. So when you look on my far right, you realize that while the color drops down, you realize that it fades, the lightness increases, the lightness, it becomes lighter. So that is value. That is how we what define value in design. That's how we define value in design. It's no business where you compare that to money and profit and things. In design we compare them to what colors, how light and dark it is. And we talked about texture. So in texture, when you say texture, we are talking about how the thing feels. So when you rub your hand upon the thing, how does it feel? Is it rough? Is it smooth? So in design too, we apply texture when you want something to give a certain feel. That is what we do. We add something to give a certain feel, and that thing we are adding is called texture. So you do a design and you want your text to feel rough. It's texture we add to it, and there's a name you give to those textures. So we have rough textures, we have smooth, we have spiky, we have soft, we have hard, we have glossy, and then a lot of them. We have a lot of textures. Now we have another design element called space. So space is the distance or the area around or between elements in the work. So each of the elements that we've talked about, when you use them in your design, just put in your mind that the spaces in between each element in your design and around them is also an element. It's very important. The space in your design is very important. That is what makes it gives your design some your elements some breathing space. Your space gives your elements some breathing space. You know, assuming I combine everything here together, you wouldn't be able to differentiate between the head, the main title texture, the meaning of it, and then the image. So you see how I've made sure I've used space wisely. So in design, space is also what, an element. And we also have another element called size. Now size, at this point I would like you to ask more questions. Today we are receiving more questions, more questions. If you don't drop your question, I don't think your questions will be your question that you are waiting till the end. If you don't drop it now, it won't be answered because a lot of people will be asking a lot of questions, so you need to drop yours. So you're talking about size. Size is also an element of design. It refers to the relationship of the area occupied by. That is what we are talking about. The size. And we all know, we have all been using size as a way of comparing some of the things. When you go to the market, you are going to buy something, you compare. Okay, this tomato size is bigger than this one. I want this. The size of this fish is short. I don't like it. You know. So the size definition you have been using is just the same thing in design. It's just the same thing. Nothing else has changed. So it's just the same thing. It refers to the relationship of the area occupied by that shape of that to that of the other. So I think we have a question over here. Okay, so Samuel, welcome. Samuel watching from Takoradi, welcome.
I missed the second session.
So he said I missed the second session last week's lesson. Please, can I watch it again? Yes, today we are doing a recap of what we did last week. So we are doing a recap of the second section. So don't worry, we are not doing anything new today because we have been thinking about it that someone like Samuel Kofi couldn't join. So we are doing recap. We are doing recap for you because we care much about you, and we continue since you people have refused to ask more questions. I can see 15 people. You are watching. You are not asking any question. Hey, ask questions. So basics of graphic design is important than anything. If you're able to grab the basics, you can use any design software to do any kind of design you want. But if I'm unable to grab these basics, it will be difficult for you to even understand the principle, let alone to use them. So please ask questions. And last week when we did this, I was expecting a question that you people didn't ask. We did design elements and nobody asked me what about text, what about type. Is text not part of it? Nobody asked me in the chat, oh, we've talked about this. Even the design you are watching on the screen, you can see text, but nobody bothered to ask whether text is also part of what, the design elements. Yes, text is also part of the design element. I intentionally didn't bring it in so that someone would ask, but you people are not asking me anything. People are not asking, so I'm also there. Someone is not asking. Suflo is not asking. Kwesi is not asking. Jerry is not asking. Nana Yeboy is also not asking. People should ask more questions. People should ask more questions. Now, we move on to design principles. So, Ishan Dakas, is it? Can we? Okay, sorry, Esther was asking. Esther Agbomaji was asking that can we watch it on YouTube again? Yes, these videos we leave them there. Last week's video is there. Today's video too is going to be there. At this point, if you have not subscribed to the channel, you have a very how do I say this? You have a fight. You need to subscribe to this channel because We have been trying all our best to keep you updated. Sometimes some of you have muted the WhatsApp group, so you need to subscribe so that when we post the video, you get notifications directly, so that you don't miss them. I know that some of you have muted the WhatsApp group. You have muted us just like that. You have muted us, but today I want you to subscribe. Subscribe so that when the video is posted, you wouldn't miss. You get notification right away, and like the video too. Okay, so we are moving to design principles. Design principles, like we're saying, design elements were ingredients. So design principles are what? It's just the recipe, the procedure you are going to use to cook. It's just the procedure we are going to use to cook. That's design principles. So they are the principles we are going to use, on which we are going to use our design elements. So if the elements are the ingredient, the principles are the what? The recipe for a good work of art. So how the principles of design are applied determines how successful one is in creating a work of art. How the principles of design are applied determines how successful one is in creating a work of art. So now the first thing is, now you know that these are rules. So what are these rules that we are supposed to follow? Number one, contrast. Whenever you are designing, please make sure. The idea behind contrast is to avoid elements on the page that are merely similar. You cannot keep subjects of this elements with the same color on top of each other. It will be very difficult to differentiate them. So make sure that they are contrasting. Like how you used to dress. You nowadays you wear if it's white shirt, you wear any different colored trousers. That is what I mean by contrast. So if your text is black, your background should be white. Not necessarily, but it should be a color we can differentiate the text from the background very clearly. And if the elements are not the same, then make them very different. Very, very different. So if it is heading and body, make the heading very bold. Make the heading very bold. Someone is saying, is Esther using her sister's phone? Oh, okay. Okay, sorry. So that, like I was saying, if the elements are not the same, then make sure that they are very different. So if it is heading and a body, make sure that the heading is bold enough, big enough, so that we can differentiate the heading from the body. So like how I am able to differentiate the body, the explanation of contrast, and then contrast itself as a word. You realize the contrast itself as a word is separated somewhere else, with blue background over there. So that is what I'm talking about. So you should be able to separate things from each other. So it also clarifies what the communication. It makes the thing readable. It makes it readable for people. So when they are reading, okay, this is the heading, this is the body. They don't mix them up. Okay. And the next rule here is emphasis. The next rule here is emphasis. So it's created by visually reinforcing something we want the viewer to pay attention to first. So what we want you to see first, what we want you to read first. We put in much effort, we put in much ingredients. Yeah. Put in much Maggi, hunger cubes and things. Put in more sugar, more salt. So that when you see it, that will be the first thing that you are going to watch. We put in a lot. Yes. So we put in a lot so that it will attract you, so that you can read that one first. So we are putting in much emphasis, normal English definition. We are putting much emphasis on that particular text or first. So this is often used to train the viewer's eye on the center of interest or focal points. So like the design we have on our far right, realize that Jesus enthroned here has been what? We've put a lot of emphasis on it. So Jesus enthroned, we made it a little bit extrude and the inside, the bevel, we added some shadows and made the color stand out from the rest of the design. So we are trying to put in much effort, much emphasis, so that whenever you see this flyer, that will be the first thing you are going to see. So from now onwards, from today onwards, whenever you pick a good design, whenever you pick any design, try to identify these principles. If you don't see them, you'll be able to judge between good design and bad design. It's simple. If you cannot differentiate between elements, you should know that there's no contrast. If you cannot differentiate between what is being more emphasized, then you should know that this thing doesn't follow design rules. Now you are becoming pro, small, you are becoming pro. Now our third design principle here is repetition. It's very essential. Repetition of elements in regular or cyclic fashion, it creates interest. So repetition strengthens a design by tying together individual elements and bringing a sense of consistency. So like the design we have on our far right, realize that the style of fonts we're using, they were all condensed form. They are stretching vertically. That is repetition. Rather like we used same colors, just two colors, and we used the same style of shapes, rectangles, no circles in that particular design. So that is what we mean by repetition. So you repeat your colors, no multicolors over here. We are not doing any, just repeat your colors, repeat your font styles, and repeat your shapes, and you're good to go. You wouldn't mess up. If you miss repetition, you've messed up. Now we move to another design element called alignment. I'll take a break and I will ask you to leave a question in the chat. If you don't understand anything about contrast, if you don't understand anything about repetition, if you don't understand anything about emphasis, please leave a question and we will review it. Even if you want me to come again, I will be able to explain over and over again until you get it. We are not here for you to come in for views. No, we are here to create an impact. We want you to learn something, leave here with something. So please, I'll be very happy if you could leave a question there if you don't understand anything. But as long as there's no question, I would assume that you understand everything and keep on going. So to the next design principle here is alignment. Now there's nothing should be placed on the page arbitrarily. You just don't drop elements anywhere anyhow and then say you have designed something. You need to care about everything. Every element should have a visual connection with another element on the page. So, and this helps create a clean and sophisticated look. So when you look at the design on our far right, you realize that I've used these lines. You realize these lines here. The designs, the elements here are aligned. Nothing exceeds that line. Everything they are on that particular line, they are online. That is what I mean by what alignment. So you realize that the title, first general meeting, is aligned. The date is aligned with the first general meeting. For enquiries, you see the shape, the black one, the black rectangle shape behind the for enquiries is aligned with the rest of the content. You realize that. So that is what I mean by this alignment. So you need to be able to master your alignment in designing. Okay, you need to be able to master your alignment. So when you look on the right part of the same design, realize that the image, the follow us CTA is also aligned. They are all aligned. So this is also a design principle which is very crucial for you to take notes. Now our next design principle here is proximity. So proximity is when you group items which relate to each other together. So items relating to each other should be grouped together. This helps organize information, reduces clutter, and gives the reader a clear structure. So you realize that on the far right, the design we have here, all the logos are one side, all our images one side, the title one side, and now the CTAs and the contact info are also where one side. When you say CTA, last week I was explaining that it means call to actions. No, call to action. So what is call to action? Call to action is just every design you create, that you are asking him to do something. mm? That is what we mean by call to action. So you want them to maybe, oh, you want them to order a food, you want them to you want them to respond to the flyer. You get me? So for this one we have here like this, we want you to come. You get me? And because we want you to come, you don't want you to get missing, we have to include what? Contact info. So at the end of the day, we are looking for you to call the number. You get me? Now the contact info, like I was saying, now we realize that we've grouped elements that look alike together, like the date, the time, the venue, and the contact info. The reason we did that is that when the person is looking at the design and the person looks at the date, when the person looks at the title, which is what we place much emphasis on, if the person, after the person watches the title, the person will ask, okay, if the person is interested, the person will ask, okay, when is this taking place? Okay, Saturday 15th July. Okay, I am free on Saturday. What time? 3 p.m. Okay, where? Royal Parade Grounds. You get me? The person wouldn't have to, be searching through the design looking for dates, the time, the venue. We've brought them together so that it will be easier for them to identify them. It will be easier for us to identify them. So at the end of the day, if the viewer says that, okay, I don't know Royal Parade Grounds, what should they do? So we placed it there for enquiries. So we've made it easier for you to identify and then follow up.
Esther said, does it mean that all design should be in line to bracket alignment?
So Esther said, does it mean that all designs should be in okay, sorry for that. Excuse me. Esther, it means all design should be aligned. Now, one thing about design elements is that when you are able to master them, then you can start breaking the rules. That is how it works. Yeah, you when you're able to master them, you can start breaking the rules intentionally. That is how we use to create that is how creativity comes about. Yes, that's how we used to create variety. So we sometimes alignment, we can use alignment to create contrast. Sometimes you can use alignment to create contrast. We intentionally shift the head a little bit to the left, and then the body a little bit to the right. Just to add a little bit order to your work. So not always, but you need to master before you can start breaking the rules. I hope you get me. I need more questions. I need more questions. Now we're done with proximity. We move on to the next one, but I'll be waiting for more questions. I've been waiting for more questions. Looking forward for more questions. Before I move on to the role of graphic design in various industries. Okay. Since there's no question, we'll keep up going. In marketing and advertising industry, graphic design plays a pivotal role in creating eye-catching advertisement, banners, and social media visuals. So most of you got to know of this bootcamp because of what? The social media visuals we created. If you had not created it and we just sent you a text, you would assume that it's scam, right? So that is how it works in marketing and advertising. So with the brands, we needed visuals for advertisement, so we would need the help of a graphic designer, and then the graphic designer will create the social media visuals, and then advertisers will what to do their work. That is how it works. So the marketing advertising industry needs your help. They need you very very much. So, and then the next one is the web and user experience design. So in the web and user experience design, so Google can employ you that okay, you want to create a new feature in on YouTube or on google.com, and we want to before they create that new feature, they would have to design it. They would need a designer to design it, you know. So that thing, the design, they need a designer to design it. So graphic design plays a essential role in also crafting such things. So people like Google, Figma, uh, the tech companies, they need designers to design the features they want to build before developers start their work. So without a designer, it will be difficult for the developer to work well. It will be difficult because when they do it and it's not nice and they say go back and then change, this is code. This is not just pushing pixels. You can get any bugs on, or you can now for you come to work on getting bugs fixed and stuff. So most of the time they need designers in the web and then the user experience design. Most apps were designed before uh, development. You can go to mobbin.com, mobbin, mobbin, and realize that all apps you get all the designs to all the apps. Just that you cannot download them unless you pay. You get the design to all the apps. All the apps you have been, all the nice apps you have been using, they were all designed by a designer before development. Now, in the entertainment industry too, your service is needed to create posters, movie posters, music albums, and like album covers, and then promotional materials. Your service is needed in the entertainment industry. And when it comes to the the print and publishing media too, your service is needed. Graphic design is crucial in book covers. The book cover you are using, it was done by a designer. You will pick the magazine, the layout, and newspaper design. The newspaper design is check the alignment. When you pick a newspaper, you check the alignments. You realize that it's very very aligned. It was done by a designer, not a doctor or a lawyer. It was done by a designer. So your service is also needed in the publishing and print media. And in 5 we have architecture and interior design. So graphic designs extends to signage, wayfinding, and environmental graphics in architecture and interior design. Graphic design extends to signage, wayfinding, and environmental graphics in architecture and interior design. So when architects, when you come to build, when you come to build, when you come to build a new bridge, a new house, architecture make the plan, and interior designers also design how the inside is going to look like. So we have designers also play a pivotal role in this industry, in the architecture and interior design. And we also have fashion and apparel. So fashion, when you say fashion and apparel is just clothing. So fashion designers use graphic design for clothing prints, patterns, and branding. So as a graphic designer, you can create a new design, and then you go to any print media or any printing agency, tell them that you want to do DTF printing. So you want to do DTF printing, go and they'll show you a place. Ask them, they'll show you a place to get a t-shirt. You just get a design on top and then send it to boutiques and then sell it to them. You get a lot of money from that side too. And in the number 7, healthcare and medical communication. Have you been to the hospital before? I believe you've been there before, and you realize that there are flyers and there are posters all over, where you see maybe someone wearing nose mask, or someone washing the hand, someone sleeping in mosquito nets. Those illustrations, those designs, they were done by a graphic designer. They were done by a graphic designer, not the doctor. The doctor cannot do it. So your service is needed in that area. So don't think that there's no job in this industry. There are a lot of gig. There's no way you can learn this and then you'll be saying that I don't have gig. There are a lot of opportunities in this industry. even in the healthcare and medical communication. You have a lot of opportunities. So graphic design helps in creating medical illustrations, patient education materials, and health related infographics. Recently someone asked me to help him talk about, was it, I've forgotten the topic. We had to do a brochure for him on, is it, it's related to medicine and technology combined. No, it's not my field, so for me I just took their content and did the design for them, so I've taken it. And we have education and the e-learning. Now graphic design plays a role in designing educational materials. So the textbook you've been using in school and the e-learning modules and the e-learning modules you have been using, they were all done by a graphic designer. uh, so like I was saying, the textbook you have been using, they were done by a graphic designer. And then what you are watching on your screen right now, it was also done by a graphic designer. Nothing visual about education, a designer. Everything visual about education was done by a designer. And the next one is non-profit and social causes. So in graphic design aids in creating impactful visuals for awareness campaigns, fundraising materials, and advocacy. So when for churches might be doing fundraising, they will need your service to make a nice design on envelopes, and so that they can send these envelopes out for people to put in money inside. NGOs also need your help. They need brochures, they need small flyers, mm, to send out to people. So your service is needed over there to increase publicity. Now we have food and beverage industry. So in the packaging design, menu layout, and food products branding, they all rely heavily on graphic design. Have you been to the restaurant before? Yes. And I believe you've seen food menu before. Yeah. So it was done by a graphic designer. Now the drink you have been drinking, the design, the rubber design on it is also done by a designer. All of these were done by a graphic designer. And food product branding. Look at Coca-Cola. Look at how they've branded the whole. It's just a drink. Coca-Cola is just a drink. But look at how they've done the branding. But it was all done by a graphic designer. So your service is also needed in the food and beverage industry. When a friend who completes catering training, when the friend completes catering training, they need graphic designer to help them advertise themselves, and so your skill is also needed there. I don't know, you can choose to enter any of these, but it's not yet ended. We have the last one: real estate and property marketing is used in property brochures, signage, and virtual tours. So when real estate agents, when they are selling their they are trying to sell a property, they take photos and stuff, but they also need your help in editing those photos, making it nicer than it is. Make it nicer, do nice banners, so that, or nice posters for them to go and paste in town. So real estate agents need your help. In their field. And last week I was also sharing the business idea over here that you can also take this upon yourself. Go about, Ghanaian carpenters, they don't get time to be posting their work on TikTok, on Facebook, on Instagram. So as a designer, you can go to them, take a camera, nice good camera, or your phone camera, take nice shots of their furnitures, and then you come home selling it. So you ask them of the price. If it is 2,000, you come home, you do the design, and you say okay, it is 2,500. You definitely get someone to buy. You can post it on Gigi, you can post it on Tonaton, you can post it on Instagram, you can post it on TikTok, you can post it anywhere, and you can be making a lot of fun from that side. So you just imagine that someone orders your product and it was initially 2,000 and you are selling at 2,500. So within 1 week you've earned $500. 500 Ghana cedis. 500 Ghana cedis for just designing one piece of work. So at this point I'll be taking more questions. If there's anything you didn't understand in any of the fields, I'll be very glad to help you. So before I continue, I'll be waiting for more questions. more questions. So since there's no question, we'll keep up going. So now we are going to do introduction to design softwares. So last week we were talking about the Adobe Creative Cloud, and we're saying the Adobe Creative Cloud, which is Photoshop, is a company that provides softwares including Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, Adobe XD, Premiere Pro, After Effects, Dimension, Character, Animate, and Co. There are a lot of apps they provide. There are a lot, but we are not going to talk about most of them, not all of them, but we are going to talk about some of them. So here are some of the apps that Adobe Creative Cloud provide. So we have Photoshop, which is used for image editing and manipulation, and also most of the flyers you see were done on Photoshop or in Photoshop. Most of them were done in Photoshop. And two, Adobe Illustrator. Adobe Illustrator is for vector graphics and illustrations. So all the cartoons you have been seeing, I don't mean the cartoons you have been watching on television. I mean the cartoons when you go to the hospital. You see the one on the posters, the man wearing the nose mask. That one is popular. You two have seen it before. That's why I've been using that one. It's quite popular. So Adobe Illustrator, it was done in Adobe Illustrator, and it's not difficult. You can also learn them. And we have Adobe InDesign. Adobe InDesign is for page layouts and desktop publishing. Like you do brochures or in Adobe InDesign. We do brochures in Adobe InDesign. We do books in Adobe InDesign. Magazines, especially in Adobe InDesign. That is where we do magazine. And in Adobe XD, Adobe XD is for user experience and user interface design, like we talked about earlier. Your service will be needed in the web and UX design industry. So over here you'll be using Adobe XD to create how the app would look like. Use Adobe XD to create how the app would look like. And if it is website, to use Adobe XD to create how it would look like. It also helps you prototype. How, like when I say prototype, it means you make it look like how is it going to be in action. When I click here, what will happen? When I click here, what will happen? Is you are able to manipulate or customize them, so that okay, when I click here, this thing turns blue. When I click here, this thing turns red. You know, that vibe. So Adobe XD helps you do that. And we have Adobe Premiere Pro in Adobe Premiere Pro, which is also for video editing. Adobe Premiere Pro. Most of the videos I've been watching they were done on Adobe Premiere Pro. It's just a few that they do it in After Effects, because After Effects is mostly of motion graphics. After Effects is mostly motion graphics. It's just a few that they do video editing After Effects, but most of the video editing were done in Premiere Pro. Now, I think this is where we'll end for Adobe Creative Cloud and Adobe Creative Cloud. Adobe Creative Cloud. And Creative Cloud, one reason why people like using Creative Cloud is it allows seamless integration between their software. So when I do a design in Illustrator, I'm able to save it in my library and be able to access the content I saved in the library in my Photoshop. So if it's a color I saved in my library, I'll be able to access it in any of the Adobe software. So that is how it works. That is why a lot of people like the Adobe Creative Cloud. Now, the next one is Sketch. So Sketch is a macOS exclusive design tool, which is primarily used for UI and UX design. At this point, I know you know what UI UX design is. Designers who create mobile apps interfaces. It's known for its simplicity and efficiency in creating responsive web and app designs, like I've been telling you. When we talk about UI UX design, talking about apps and then websites. So Sketch is used for those things. And the next one is Figma, like the one I'm using right now. What I'm using now is Figma. Figma is free. It's a cloud-based design tool which is accessible from any platform with an internet connection. So the reason why I like using Figma is because of that. If I'm working on my machine and maybe there's light out, I can go to a friend's house, log into my account, and continue designing. I don't lose anything. You get it? That is why I love using Figma, and it also has a lot of features that the Adobe, Photoshop, and Illustrator don't have. Though Figma is now under Adobe Creative Cloud apps. It's popular for collaborative design work, allowing multiple users to work on the same project simultaneously. So you and your friend can be working on the same flyer at the same time. That is how it works. So a lot of people love it because of that, and that is how we used to create. That is how we here at Learners Club we used to create our content. A lot of people come together on the same page, and then we are dropping our content and designing together. So Figma is widely used for web and app design, prototyping, like I said, and user testing. So you can test your design and it will look like a mobile app. But please, it doesn't. It is not a mobile app. You cannot use it as a mobile app. It has no backend. It's just visuals. And then number 4, we have CorelDRAW. CorelDRAW, a lot of people also use CorelDRAW for design. It's like a combination of Photoshop and Illustrator. Canva, a lot of people use them, but mostly it's for busy people. Canva is for busy people who don't have, and then people who don't have enough money to hire a designer. But Canva, I don't recommend Canva for any new designer, because for them they like to create templates. They like templates. So, and these templates that they create is also creating a limit on it puts a limitation on designers' creativity. That's it. It puts limitation on your creativity. You cannot do better than what they've given it to you. They've given you, you know. So it puts limitation on your creativity. We have Procreate. Procreate is for illustration, cartoons, adverts, and things. Procreate. And we have Affinity Designer. Affinity Designer is also a combination of like Photoshop, Illustrator combined some way. We have Inkscape. We have Blender. Blender is for 3D. Blender is for 3D modeling. Those 3D games you have been playing, the 3D cartoons you have been playing. We have AutoCAD. AutoCAD is mostly for used by architectures and interior designers. Welcome to the end of the design softwares. Introduction to the design softwares. And at this point, if you have any question, I would like to help you out. So now, before we continue, last week I'll show you how to install the Photoshop on your computer, and I'll show you this way. I'm showing you the legal way. This week I'm showing you the legal way to install Photoshop. So we just type get into PC. You search it on Google. Google will help you out. And then add, if it's Photoshop you want, Photoshop CC 2020. So we have get into PC Photoshop CC 2020. Search it on Google, and Google will be happy to help you out. So when it comes, you click on your first link, and it brings you here. It brings you to the website. So when you're on the website, you scroll down, and check for system requirements over here. So over here, the system requirements for 2020 here, the RAM is 4 gig. Hard disk required is just 3 gig. Your processor should be 2 gigahertz or faster, and then your graphics and then you need system-based color, you need 3D features are disabled with less than 512 megabytes of VRAM. Those things are not that necessarily, but if you're able to get the first four, you are good to go. By all, it's necessary too. So to download, you come down, you see download, you click on the download, and after downloading, the password is 123. You open it up, double click on it, and you install it, you are done. And this is how it works with Illustrator 2. So now let's continue with the basic design terminology. Oh, sorry, for Mac, people using MacBook, for people using MacBook, we go to google.com and you type I get into PC and you add Photoshop CC 2020 and you search. Google will be glad to help you out. So you click on your first link and they'll be very glad to bring you back to the website where you can download them. So here it is, Adobe Photoshop 2020. Click on it. This is for MacBook. So after downloading, you'll be able to use them. So we'll continue to the basic design terminologies and vocabularies. So the first one, we have hierarchy. We're talking about hierarchy, we've been talking about hierarchy. So hierarchy here is just the organization of content to convey the relative importance of different elements. So typically it's achieved through variation in size, color, and placement. So hierarchy is used to help you, is just used to help guide you on how to like guide the viewer on what to read first, what to read next, and what to read next, and what to read last. So, and we are able to guide this viewer with the help of the size of the font, the color of the font, the placements, like that. That is hierarchy. How we are able to use the size, the color, and the placement to guide the viewer's eye on our design. So what we want you to see first, we make it big. What we want you to see last, we can make it very small, because normally the eyes, they are lazy to watch those small things. So we watch the big one first, and then it creates curiosity, so that you are able to read the rest. That is what happens. Now, in another terminology used in graphic design is typography. Typography. So typography is just art and technique of arranging text to make it visually appealing and readable. So when we talk about typography, we are just talking about type, just the text. We just want to make it readable. So this includes font choice, your font size, your font spacing, and then your formatting. Don't worry, stay close. Saturday we'll be taking you through the color theory and the typography. Saturday we're taking you through the color theory and the typography. So stay tuned. And our next terminology is grid. So grid is just a framework of intersecting vertical and horizontal lines that help align and organize elements in a design. So like we're talking about the alignment as a design principle. So when enter every software, they should have a grid. So this grid is mostly dragged. You drag it from the rulers. Every software has ruler, so you drag the grid from the ruler so that it will help you draw a design, make your design, and make them align. That is great. And we have another term called white space or negative space. So it's just empty or unmarked space in the design, which is essential for readability and visual balance. So it helps direct the viewer's attention in the design. Now we also have scale and proportion. We have scaling and proportion. So scale refers to the size of elements in relation to one another. In relation to one another or to the overall design. So and proportion over here involves maintaining pleasing ratios between these elements in your design. How so? Proportion, like you have to make the head bigger than the body. That's proportion. But in scaling, you just like you're increasing the size a little bit so that it to be readable, something like that. Now we also have composition. Composition in graphic design, when you say composition, don't think about anything else apart from arrangement. So when you say composition, we mean arrangement. The arrangement of visual elements within a design, including the placement, the balance, and the overall structure. Our next design term here is vector graphics and raster graphics. So we're talking about vector graphics. I think my Photoshop is open here. Let me see if I have this here. Okay, let me use your design here. Thank you. So as I zoom in, you'll be seeing some box or some squares there. So those squares are called pixels. They are called pixels. They are called pixels. That is what we call. This is what we call. So that's why you see that with some cameras are. You write when your phone at the back of the phone, you write maybe 48 megapixels, 12 megapixels. It means it is taking 12 mega of these pixels, these boxes. It means it's taking 12 mega of these boxes. Every picture you take, it takes 12 of this. You get me? So that is what we mean by pixel. So these pixels, so this thing, raster graphics uses these pixels, this square. That is what makes it blur when you overscale it or when you over reduce the size. That is what does that. So because it's raster graphics. Now I think I have my Illustrator here, and I'll show you how vector graphics is. So vector graphics, realize there's no line. I keep zooming, and there's no box. You realize that there are no boxes here. There are no boxes. No matter what, there are no boxes over here. I'm just moving around. Realize that there are no boxes here. There are no boxes over here. And that is vector graphics. That is why the logo designs are done in vector graphics, and we do other flyers and co in raster graphics, because raster graphics brings the colors out though, but the vector graphics maintains the quality, as in when you keep zooming it doesn't get blurry or it doesn't change the quality or reduce the quality in a way. And we continue. So now vector graphics, you understand, is created using mathematical formulas which can be scaled infinitely without losing quality. That's vector. And raster graphics is made up of pixels, like I said, and they are resolution dependent. Common formats include JPEG, PNG, and GIF. Now we have mockups. Mockups is like you have made a design, but you want to see how it looks like in real life. So we have online, you go and search maybe a book mockup. They'll give you a book where you can put your design on it. So that is the whole subject of mockup. You are putting your design on the object so that you see how it would appear in real life. And we have DPI. So DPI is like dots per inch. So every inch is how many dots do we have inside, or how many pixels those boxes I showed you. In every inch is how many pixels do you want us to see inside. So the higher it is, the higher the quality of your work. So but the thing is, you cannot increase it so infinite, like cannot increase it madly or mindlessly. Say that because it will increase the quality of my work, I'll increase it mindlessly. It will slow down your machine. It will make your machine laggy. So yeah, and it will make the file very big. It will make the file very big. And social media too, when you are posting something, it is very big. They reduce the quality for you. Social media will reduce the quality for you. That is it. So DPI, that's what DPI does. it reduces it. It increases the quality of your design. So the maximum you can do is 350 or 300. Is good. You are good to go. But sometimes when your machine is not good, you can keep it at 150 or 100. Just keep it that way, and after you are done designing, you can bring it to 300 and then save your work. You are good to go. And we have bleed. So bleed, when you're talking about bleed, is just extra space which is beyond the edge of a printed page. So whenever you are creating a magazine or any book, we leave that small space around it, or maybe a business card, we leave that small space around it so that when the machine is cutting, the machine wouldn't cut our design away. You get me? You get me? That's so simple to understand. We leave that bleed so that my machine is cutting, the machine wouldn't cut our design away. Now we also have two terms which is mostly used in the design industry called, we have serif and sans serif. So serif fonts have small decorative lines. So let's see if I'll be able to find one serif font for you here. So let's go to Illustrator. Illustrator, and let me type something like times. Let me increase the size so I can see well. So this over here is a serif font. Why is it a serif font? It's because of this. Let me show you. You see this extrusion out here? You see that extrusion at the edge of the T, the bottom? You see that? The S here. That is what we use to identify that this is serif. So back in the olden days, you realize that people they used to use chisel to write on walls and then on tablets. So this chisel used to create those small extrusions, those small chippings at the edge of the letters. So they were assuming that, like, it got a time they accepted it as a new style, and they accepted it. So it's called sans serif. It's called serif. This is called serif. It means it has that extrusion. But then we have another style of font called sans serif. Sans means it's without those extrusions. It's without the serif. Sans means it's without the serif. And let me show you an example. So we have, let me increase this size. An example of this is this guy, Poppins. Realize that there's no extrusions. It's raw. There's nothing there's nothing on the edge. There's nothing here. There's nothing there. So that is sans serif. That means it has no serif in it. Now our next is CMYK and RGB. The CMYK is the color model which is used for printing. So that one is not, you shouldn't bother about it. That is what we use in printing. But the RGB is what you are going to use when you are designing. So we use RGB when designing and CMYK when printing. So CMYK is cyan, magenta, yellow, and key. The key is black. And our next terminology here is leading. Some people might say leading, but I used to say leading. So the leading is the vertical spacing between lines of text. So there's vertical spacing. So when you type one sentence and you are moving to the next line, the space you leave, that is leading. Now we have another term, typography term called kerning. So kerning here is the adjustment of space between elements or design individual letters or characters in a word to improve visual harmony and readability. So when you pick maybe the word kerning, the space in between each character is what we are talking about. So it's the adjustment of the space between each character. Now we have a design terminology called mood board. mood board that you should take you need to take note of. It's called mood board. So mood board over here is what we use when we are gathering inspiration or a design. Okay, we want to create this project, we want to do this project. Where do we get inspiration from? So we go online, search, and then we find content. Okay, this looks like what we want to do, this looks like what we want to do. We bring them, all of them, to one space. So bring all of these things is called what? Mood board. So it's a college of images, colors, textures, which are used to convey the desired visual style and mood of a design project. And that brings us to the end of today's lesson. If you have any question, I'll be very glad if you could leave your question in the chats. I'll be waiting for about 2 to 3 minutes. If there's no question, we'll bring today's session to an end. Hello, any question? Francis watching from Enyinem. Oh, Francis, you're welcome. Very glad you're joining, Francis. Very happy for you to join. At this point, we've ended the show. If you have any question, you leave your question in the chat box. 1 minute more. If you have no question, we go offline and we start a new topic on Saturday. I know a lot of people couldn't join today because most of you gone to work and you are busy. Some of you are now on your way coming. And I know some of you too will come and download it after we've posted it. But don't worry, the old one is there. What we did last week is still there, so no problem. You can go there and watch it. Just last week, someone came to show me, oh, hey Kwame, I've downloaded the whole video. I said, wow, the whole 2 hours video. I said, yes, I've downloaded. People are very serious about this. So you should also take this serious and then learn. Ask questions. Now I think there's no question coming in, so God willing, Saturday we are going to meet again. Okay, we said wait. Okay, I'm waiting for you. Any question? Seems Edwin wants to ask a question. Edwin, what's your question? We're waiting for you.
After launching the Photoshop software, I am unable to see the menu bar and control box.
It's probably in a welcome screen.
How do I go about it?
Okay, so the question is,
Probably in a welcome screen. It's a welcome screen.
so you have a question. You said after launching the Photoshop software, I'm unable to